So let's talk about the 3 top tips to create massive success your first 30 days in this business. There are 3 things you need to be doing together. You do these 3 things together and you're gonna get a lot of traction in our business. You're gonna think, wow, this is easy, this is simple, I'm making money, I'm having fun, I'm building relationships, I'm learning so many incredible things. There's 3 things you wanna do together that if you do them together, are a guaranteed equation for success. Now, if you pick and choose, it's not going to work the way you want it to. So listen, make sure you're writing these 3 things down. And the best way to understand this is kind of like a 3-legged stool. I want you to look at the 3-legged stool here. If you have a stool with 3 legs on it, it's going to be strong, it's going to be stable, it's going to support weight, right? Now, if you remove one of those legs and you have a 2-legged stool, what's going to happen to that stool? It's going to fall over, right? It's not going to bear the weight. And that's how the top 3 tips are, right? You do these 3 things all together, your business is going to be strong and sturdy. You pick and choose, it's not going to work the way that you want it to, okay? So listen, all 3 of these are equally important. None is more or less important than another. They're all equally important. They should all be done what? Together, right? They should all be done together. The great news is you can do all 3 of these things together in a few hours a week around your schedule, and you can do them completely online from home around your schedule. So let's jump in. Number one tip is you've got to get licensed. Guys, listen, if you want to make a substantial amount of money in our business, you must be license. We've got to get that license in order to pay you, okay? So we want you to have this license, guys, in 7 to 10 days from today. From the day you're watching this video, you're going to be licensed in 7 to 10 days, and you're going to be legal and in business. So let me give you a couple of pro tips here on how to get this license in 7 to 10 days. Number 1 is you're going to log on to youcanpass.com. That's where your pre-licensing exists. It's a 4 to 8 hour course, depending on what state you're in, that can be done on demand, around your schedule. Most people complete that course in 2 or 3 days. Okay, they just knock it out and then you're done and you never have to do it again. So you're going to complete that online course. Listen, it is a requirement that you complete that course before scheduling your exam. They won't let you take the exam without finishing that course first. So you're going to set up your profile on You Can Pass. You're going to start the course. And here's a couple of tips for the course. Number 1 is read it like a book. It's some video, it's some reading, but read it like a book. The number 1 mistake I see people make in this level is they're studying hours and hours and hours just on the first piece. Listen, read it like a book. At the end of every section, there's a quiz. If you can pass that quiz, it opens the next section. Get all the way through reading it like a book. Don't take a ton of notes. Just read it through like you would normally read it through and see how much of it you're retaining. Most people are going to retain enough to pass those quizzes, get all the way through to the end. There's a practice exam. You pass that practice exam and you have earned your pre-licensing certificate and can now schedule your exam. Okay, you want to schedule your exam for 2 to 3 days out from after you finish the course. A lot of people are tempted, this is another mistake, a lot of people are tempted to think, well, I just want to study a little bit, I want to really meticulously get to know this. Listen, this is pass-fail. This is pass-fail, okay? I want you taking that test 2 to 3 days after you finish that class. Remember, 7 to 10 days total. Listen, if you don't pass it, you can take the exam every 24 hours. Listen, I would rather you take the exam 3 times and pass on the 4th in a week than to pass the first time 6 months from now, right? Because it's going to help you make money more quickly. And listen, 90% of what you're going to learn on this exam you're never going to see again, and 10% of it you're going to use all the time, and we're going to make sure that you are a pro at that 10%. So listen, we're not going to study and then schedule. We're going to schedule the exam for 2 to 3 days out as soon as we finish the class. And then we're going to study in those 2 to 3 days, and we're going to get in there and we're going to pass that thing, man. Listen, you're probably going to pass that exam the first time, but if you don't pass that exam the first time, no problem at all. We pay for you to take it as many times as you want, and you can take it every 24 hours. So what's the key to passing the exam in 7 to 10 days? Number 1, do your class on You Can Pass. Get that done in 2 to 3 days. Number 2 is schedule your exam for 2 to 3 days out after you've done the class. And number 3 is don't be afraid to fail. If you fail, it's not the end of the world. It's about how quickly you can get past, not if you can pass it on the first time, okay? So listen, that's leg 1 of the 3-legged stool. The great news is this: as soon as you're done with that license, you're done. You never have to do it again. It is permanently in place and you can focus on the other 2 legs. The second leg of the stool is online trainings. Listen, we run an online training system that is absolutely incredible. It's going to teach you everything you need to know, and they're totally free. They're totally free. You can dial in from anywhere. You could be on vacation. You could be at a restaurant. Now listen, you're going to get the most out of the trainings by being in front of a computer taking notes, but there's no reason to ever miss one. Okay, and here's why this is super important. Here's a pro tip. Here's a pro tip. Number 1 is this: don't miss a meeting. Don't miss a meeting. All the people that have been incredibly successful in our business make the commitment to be at the trainings. Here's why. If you don't know what you're doing, how many sales are you going to make? Not many, right? Okay, so how much money are you going to make from that? And the answer is not much. Okay, so listen, you need to be confident and competent, because confidence and competence equals compensation, right? I want you to make as much money as you can here in as little time as possible. And in order to make that happen, you've got to learn the skills and the mindsets of this business, and you're going to learn those. So number 1 is you need to be trained so that you can be competent. The second reason is your people need to be trained. Really, really quickly, we're going to have 10 or 15 or 20 people on your team. If those people don't know what they're doing, how many sales are they going to make? Probably none, right? And how much money are they going to make? Probably none. How much money will you make from that? And the answer is also none. So you've spent all this time recruiting people, but because they're not plugged into the training system, they don't learn the business and don't make any money. Folks, you need to be trained and your people need to be trained. So there's 2 ways you can do this: the wrong way and the right way. I'm going to tell you the wrong way so you know what the right way is. The wrong way is saying, hey, don't worry about the trainings. I know you're busy. We'll just do this one-on-one. Well, if we had 20 people on your team, and we will quickly, if we had 20 people on your team and we wanted to train them for 2 hours each every week, 2 hours with Tim, 2 hours with Susan, 2 hours with Tom, that's like 40 hours a week of training, right? Just to train your 20 people. But watch this. What if we put your 20 people on the 2 hours of training that everybody's on together? Then we can train your 20 people. They all get 2 hours of training, right? But it only takes 2 hours. What if we had 100 people? It still only takes what? 2 hours. What if we had 1,000 people? It still only takes 2 hours. Guys, the training system is the leverage in your business. If you plug in and get your people plugged in, you're going to make a lot of money and build a great team really quickly, and it's not going to take a lot of time. This business doesn't take time if you follow the system. So I want to ask you to make a commitment to not miss a training for the first 6 months of your career here. And here's why. There's 2 reasons. Number 1 is 6 months in, you're going to know enough, you're going to have the skill set, the mindset, that if you decide that, hey, maybe you know what, I'm not going to pursue this as actively as I once thought I was, that you're going to be competent and confident enough to be able to make money at will and help clients do the right job for them, right? So you're going to be able to sustain those skill sets without having to constantly be plugged in. That's number 1. Reason number 2, though, and this is even more important, is you're probably going to find a couple of really great people early on in your business that could be absolute superstars in our company. But because you're not plugged in, they don't get plugged in. Because they don't get plugged in, they don't learn the skill sets, and they miss out on an incredible around the world sort of life. And you miss out because you could have been financially participating in everything that person did. It could absolutely change your life, and you don't get to do that over, right? You don't get to be a bad example and lose great people and then go back and change that. So listen, make a commitment for the first 6 months that you're not going to miss a meeting no matter what happens. And in 6 months, you're going to be skilled, you're going to be confident, you're going to be competent, you're going to have a great team, and this thing's going to be rolling, and you're going to be teaching some of these meetings. So listen, Here's the third tip I would give you about why training meetings are important. Imagine going to school, right? You're in college, it's the day before the final exam, and you're like, gosh, I need a little bit of help. I'm not as good at this stuff as I need to be. And so you go and knock on your professor's door, and he answers, and you say, you know what, I need a little help. Would you mind just going over this again with me and just give me a little clarity here? And he looks down at his register, his roster for the semester, and he sees that you skipped half the classes. What's that professor probably going to say to you? Hey, you know what? I appreciate that you need some help, but you should have thought about that before you missed half my classes, right? He doesn't have time to help people that should have been in those classes learning for themselves, right? And we're going to be the same way. If you're missing meetings and you need the help personally of a trainer, that's going to be hard for you to get because they're so busy training all the people that are coming to the trainings, right? Now, flip that around. You knock on the professor's door. He opens the door. He knows you by name. You sit in the front row, every training, every class, right? You bring in him Starbucks. He knows that you're there. You're always asking questions. Is that professor going to be more or less likely to give you the individualized help you need, knowing that you've never missed a class? Of course, he's going to be more likely to do it. And so I want you to treat this business the same way. We're going to be much more likely to be able to get the individualized attention you need when you plugged into the group process, okay? So make a commitment, number one, to not miss meetings for 6 months. Number two, right, get those put in your schedule, guard them with your life, and get your people on those meetings. And number three, listen, earn the goodwill of your trainers and your leaders by never, ever missing a meeting. The third leg of the stool, the third tip for great success to start your business is to get field trained and get your field training bonus. See, we've got a compensation system in our business that is unparalleled and unrivaled anywhere else, where new people come in and routinely, guys, get this, make $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, even $10,000 or more in their first 30 days part-time, even without that license, even without being licensed. And that's by doing what we call field training. That's you and your trainer seeing people and sharing with them our business opportunity and our products and services and bringing on clients and recruiting, training, and developing a team in your first 30 days.